Well, it is a big day for India. Russian President Vladimir Putin has arrived in India for the first time since the Ukraine war in 2022. The visit assumes significance owing to its timing. New Delhi is under growing pressure from the US to downgrade its ties with Moscow. As the world watches closely, India and Russia are set to boost their strategic ties. Here's a report.
It's a moment everyone has been waiting for. It's not just a diplomatic meeting, but a powerful message to the world, especially the United States. 78 years of partnership will be on display when Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin chair the 23rd Annual India-Russia Summit on Friday. For decades, Russia has been India's largest defense supplier. Even though India has diversified its defense imports, over 60% of its military assets are still of Russian origin. A central element on the agenda is follow-on cooperation for the S-400 Triumph long-range air defense systems. India is expected to finalize the procurement of 280 S-400 air defense missiles. Recently used by India in Operation Sindoor in its military action against Pakistan. India achieved a historic milestone by executing the world's longest ever kill by successfully hitting an aerial target 314 kilometers out using the S-400. Moscow also possesses the S-500, which is an advanced version of the S-400. The S-500 boasts of a range of up to 600 kilometers and can engage threats at altitudes up to 200 kilometers, giving it a coverage envelope much broader than most existing air defense platforms. PM Modi and President Putin are expected to discuss the joint production of advanced variants of the Brahmos supersonic cruise missile. Brahmos remains one of the most successful examples of Indo-Russian defense collaboration. It symbolizes the long-standing strategic partnership between the two nations. Building on the success of Operation Sindoor, India has identified the need for lighter and more versatile versions. This includes the Brahmos NG, which can be fitted across the Indian Air Force's fighter fleet and capable of striking targets over 400 kilometers away. While India is pushing forward with its Make in India defense program, New Delhi continues to look at Russia as one of its key arms suppliers. Russia, on its part, has expressed readiness to support India's future fighter aircraft needs. Moscow has offered unrestricted technology transfer for the Su-57 fifth-generation stealth fighter. The Sukhoi Su-57 achieves a maximum speed of Mach 2.0 with a 3,500 kilometer combat radius. Its stealthy design delays detection, degrades radar quality, complicates missile tracking, and makes it almost impossible to detect on conventional radars. Apart from defense cooperation, trade and energy will be other important aspects of the summit. This comes at a time that Russia faces multi-fold sanctions from the West, while India faces 50% tariffs on its exports to the United States.
Well, this will be a 78-year-old partnership, would be on display. It was on display at the Palam Air Base. It will be on display, on full display tomorrow between the Russian President Vladimir Putin and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They will chair the 23rd Annual India-Russia Summit tomorrow. So what is the significance of the visit by the Russian President to India? Let's broaden this discussion. And joining us from Berlin is Dr. Volker Stanzel is a former German ambassador to China, senior distinguished fellow at the SWP, German Institute for International and Security Affairs. Professor Stanzel, thank you very much for making time for us. How do you think the West, especially the US and Europe, are viewing this trip by Putin to India and put Ukraine into the picture, since New Delhi still shares ties with Kiev?
Yes, well, I think the US and other countries worldwide, not just Western European and the US, watch this with great curiosity, because it is difficult to see how the conundrum that both countries, India and Russia, find themselves in can be resolved. Now, I cannot say much about India, you know that much better than I do, but I see that, of course, the ambition on both sides is there, and it is well justified to continue a relationship that has continued over such a long time, and that has begun with great ambition in many areas, the economic, the political area. Most importantly, I think, was from the beginning, was the notion that both countries could support the development of a multipolar world, something on which both sides also work in the framework of the BRICS group, which doesn't seem to make headway after the last summit, when 15 partners were allowed to join, but nothing has happened after then. But the actual problem, I think, is not so much that it is difficult for India to find out what it still can do with Russia, but what Russia can contribute. And the Russian situation is extremely difficult, of course, because of the war in Ukraine. Here, Putin pursues what amounts to, I'd say, a war of attrition, right? But without making major headway. Russia now holds less territory in Ukraine than 2 months or so after they invaded Ukraine at the very beginning. And they find the number of troops are insufficient. They have high numbers of victims. That is why they search for, one might say, soldiers of fortune, right? In other countries, North Korea, of course, China, Nepal, and we hear that they have also hired some Indian soldiers. But they're weaker also in the economic area because, of course, because of the sanctions, the price of oil, of energy goes down. And also, at the same time, China uses the situation Russia's in to establish increasing dominance over Russian policies. So it's a partner that is an old partner with whom many hopes were connected on both the Indian and the Russian side. But the present situation is so difficult that I permit myself to use that word conundrum.
It's a conundrum indeed. Professor, very quickly, there are various agreements that are set to be signed, most notably in defense and acquisition of jets and the S-400 and possibly the S-500 defense system. That will happen tomorrow. But what would be the impact or significance of enhancing defenses with Russia? Very quickly.
I think that will take time to work out, because now, of course, the ambition is high, and it's a well-founded ambition to do something in an area where the whole relationship began, after all, but where it will lead to, I think, must be worked on the ground.
All right. Professor, it's good to see you. Thank you very much for making time for us and for talking to us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.